Throughout Chainsaw Man Part 1, we got introduced to multiple memorable characters, but one that really stands out amongst them all is Reze. Even though she herself wasn't in the manga for a really long time, she is perhaps one of the most important characters in Chainsaw Man's story. The reason for that is her massive impact on the series protagonist Denji, that looking back at it might have changed the character for the better in a major way because of what she provided Denji, while also being used as a vehicle for us to see how truly messed up Makima was as a character. Just as your first read of Chainsaw Man likely made Makima feel like a random chance encounter, the same could be said with Denji meeting Reze, and yet the symbolism of the two meeting in the rain is something that cannot be overlooked. When Denji meets Reze, it comes after he has that moment with Makima a few chapters prior where she places her head over his heart, and Denji is still left thinking about that moment, with Denji saying that whatever time he has where it's a free moment, Makima is always on his mind and that his heart belongs to her and that he would never fall for anyone else. It's then that the story showcases the rain falling, and this wasn't by mistake. Rain is often associated with love and emotional connection. Rain is used as a trigger for intimacy, relaxation, and nostalgia in some literature. In some religions, it's viewed as cleansing and purification. In this moment, the rain was an attempt to do just that, to cleanse Denji of the thoughts of the woman who was after his heart for all the wrong reasons, and it's because of this rainfall that we see Denji meeting Reze for the first time. And looking at Chainsaw Man's story as a whole, we could argue that in the case of Part 1, she's the closest thing Denji's ever had to pure love. Rain is often used to create an intimate atmosphere to encourage people to open up, to connect on a deeper level, and a sense of vulnerability that can strengthen emotional bonds between partners, particularly where elements of romance are involved in films. This was intentional given Fujimoto's history as a movie buff. It's during that opening chapter that we see Reze is showing signs that she's attracted to Denji, and Denji himself is conceding that he can feel himself falling for Reze. A chance encounter in the rain that opened Denji up to a world of possibilities, but it's as is often the case with Chainsaw Man, when things do seem to be too good to be true, there is more often than not heartbreak waiting around the corner. However, that's what makes the story of Reze so beautiful, and her encounters with Denji have such a massive payoff. She herself implies that she doesn't enjoy killing, refers to killing Denji and the others as a plan B, possibly because of how she was brought up and used as a tool, which is similar to Denji at the end of the day. Denji was a member of Division 4. He's merely a tool for the government as well, just like she was. There were small bits of connective tissue between these two, who each had a rather messed up upbringing, from Denji being forced to pay his father's debts as a child by hunting down devils, and Reze being one of the many children who was taken by the Russian government, turned into a super soldier for the country, being forced to undergo experiments in military training, and even having a part of the bomb devil placed into her to turn into the bomb devil hybrid for our country. It's due to this that even though she had her mission to kill Chainsaw Man and take Denji's heart, Reze ended up developing feelings for Denji, making her one of the first but certainly not the last woman who Denji would meet that would tear his heart out. The relationship of Denji and Reze is one with multiple layers to it, with everything culminating in a way that changes the way that Denji views love when you look at things closely, and it plants the seeds of his own insecurities about being Chainsaw Man, where he has that iconic line in this arc asking, why does everyone seem to only want his Chainsaw Man heart? What about his Denji heart? This meeting with Reze, the heartbreak that he would feel, it would be what helped him realize what would ultimately be needed to bring down Makima, who, like so many others in the story, cared less about Denji and only about Chainsaw Man. However, that's not to say that Reze and Denji didn't have anything special, because they did. Reze was able to relate to Denji in a way that Makima couldn't. When Reze was attempting to get close to Denji and make him lower his guard, the two would spend quite a bit of time together. Most notably, their date at the school, and in hindsight, there was more than one moment where Reze could have attacked Denji in order to accomplish her goal of getting his heart, but she didn't, and it's because of moments like when she was at the chalkboard and realized that Denji had a less than ideal childhood upbringing like her, where she learned that he'd been honest when he said he'd never been in a real classroom before, or when they were swimming in the swimming pool, Reze was beginning to get attached to Denji, and you could see it, and you definitely see it at the end where one of her last thoughts thoughts is her talking about how she wished she could go to school with Denji in a real classroom. She was seemingly falling in love with Denji in this arc, a soldier who had her duty as a government asset, and a young woman who had seemingly found her soulmate in Denji, or at the very least a person who would be as close as she would ever get to being a twin flame because of their similar circumstances. You see in hindsight so much of the conflict in Reze. Reze asked Denji to run away with her, going so far as to say that she knows someone who can help them hide. She knows that in this moment that if things stay the course that they're on, she's going to be forced to carry out her mission, or if that she stays around Denji for too long, someone from public safety would eventually figure out who she is and what her motives are. This is even more so heartbreaking when you realize that due to how Makima's powers work, even if Denji had taken that moment and run away with Reze, they would never truly be free. It was a love that was destined for failure. It was a tragic love. A tragic love I would put up there with Kathy and Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, a classic story. When they do battle and Denji utters that line of, "Why didn't anyone want my Denji heart? Why is it only my Chainsaw Man heart that people want?" Reze does respond that she does want Denji's heart. Denji's heart. She likes Denji for Denji. She says that she did sincerely like him, something that Denji in hindsight needed to hear, because even in part 2, we see over and over again that the more people that are around him, they care more about him as Chainsaw Man, like Fumiko, and not as Denji as a human. In a series where one of the constant themes of the story was the gradual dehumanization of Denji's character, buried beneath Reze's actions was the possibility that there might have been someone who truly offered him a chance to experience genuine love without those strings being attached, but due to Reze's situation, they had no choice but to battle. As the audience, we're left to think, just as Aki does, that Reze was just trying to gaslight and manipulate Denji when she says this, because Aki, by that point in the story, had built up so much goodwill with us as an audience, and we've seen the moments of Aki and Denji in power. They're forming that close family unit, and you automatically think that what Aki is saying is correct. Yet due to how she was brought up and a close examination of Reze's actions in this arc, one can't help but wonder if there was actual truth to her words, and I think the answer is yes. And I do believe Denji to an extent knows this much, because in Chainsaw Man Part 2, when Denji has his date with Asa Mitaka, he basically tries to recreate the scene with Reze where he pulled that magic trick with the flower with Reze in the rain, while Denji tried to pull out a starfish or Asa Mitaka at the aquarium. Both scenes had something in common. They were connected by water. The reason why this is so important is that in certain cultures, water is associated with love. And what we see with Denji and Reze is, one could argue that Reze was the one who gave him that first look at what real love for Denji could look like. With a proper true love experience for Denji, Reze was a lot of first experiences. Just as first love tends to be a ton of first experiences for a lot of people. Reze was the one who took him to the classroom and questioned him for the first time, are you really happy with just being a lapdog for public safety, where you kill devils and you get the bare minimum compensation, and basically asked him, don't you ever really want more out of life? She was the one who gave Denji his first real lessons that he never received due to his unorthodox upbringing. After she learned he didn't know how to read and write and do other basic things, she taught him. Reze was the first one who taught him how to swim. She was the first one to teach him the rewards that came from taking that leap of faith into the unknown by getting him in the pool with her. Just as first love teaches us so many first experiences, Denji was getting this with Reze, and we continue to see her expand Denji's mind by questions, asking him if he preferred the country mouse or the town mouse. It's what makes this moment where they wait for the fireworks at the festival where she kissed Denji, and it's only when she realizes that Denji's gone too far, too sunken into the claws of the vulture known as Makima, that she ends up turning on him and goes back to her mission for Denji's heart. It's what makes it so heartbreaking. In a way, you could read Reze, who previously had chose the country mouse because of the freedom that the country mouse had. You could read Reze's actions here as trying to give us a freedom to someone who she was growing to love, because him living the comfortable life of the town mouse while being used by someone like Makima, it wasn't living, it was merely existing, and there's a difference between living and existing. The fact that Reze found herself, even after the battle, contemplating going back to the restaurant to be with Denji to work things out, it was a sign that she was giving thought to offer Denji had after the battle to run away. Had Makima never found her, she would have entered into that cafe with Denji, waiting there with the flowers, waiting for her. It's a heartbreaking end for Reze, and that Makima stole the future happiness from herself and Denji when she took Reze down at the end of the Bomb Devil arc. That adds more layers to Reze when you get to the Control Devil arc, where Reze, who had previously tried to get Denji freed from the clutches of Makima, now finds herself being controlled, stripped of her individuality, and brainwashed by Makima. What I love about Reze is the fact that every single thing about her character, you can tell Fujimoto put a lot of meticulous thought into it, from her mannerisms to slowly falling in love with Denji to how she was taken down in a heartbreaking and poetic way. Denji's thoughts at the start were, "Help me, Miss Makima, I might fall for her," with her in this instance being Reze, and we see at the end of the arc with Makima taking down Reze just before she can go, ironically, rescue Denji from the world of unhappiness that's awaiting him. The real symbolism of first love continues when you realize that just as first love is fleeting and oftentimes would never truly work out, the continued existence of Makima basically means that Reze and Denji, had they been allowed to run away, they would never truly be happy because Makima would come for them eventually. Taking a step further, you see the details of Reze's character when you see the way that she has her devil transformation designed, and it's so detailed. Equally terrifying as it played up her sexuality, from the dynamite sticks on her dress that showcased the curves of her body, given that feminine appearance, to the bomb that replaced her head. She is both explosive as a character, figuratively, sexually, and quite literally. The perfect first true love interest for Denji during this chaotic nature that was Chainsman Part 1. In fact, the build up to the plot twist of Reze, it plays off emotions of readers in a way that I don't think you can truly appreciate until you get through Chainsman through a second read through, where you have the benefit of hindsight and thus can experience the dramatic irony through a different scope. Prior to this, we learned not to get attached because Himeno ended up dying before she could make good with winning Aki's heart after she made that deal with Denji. If Denji helped her win Aki, then Himeno would help him win over Makima. Denji opens up the arc worried that something is wrong with him and that he's heartless, so not feeling super torn up about Himeno's death until that date with Makima, and she places her head over his heart, and we end the arc off with Denji having his heart broken, being told by the shopkeeper that Denji's holding on flowers, he needs to give it up because Reze was always out of his league. Unbeknownst to them, Reze was coming for Denji. Denji wasn't out of his league, he was just where he needed to be. The chaos and the hindsight that comes further into play when you realize that Fujimoto was giving us misleading bits to make us more attached to Reze before he didn't just rip out Denji's hearts, but also ripped out our heart as well by making us get more invested in her despite the story telling us through Himeno's death previously not to get attacked. We see a guy who had the contract with the Typhoon Devil make his plan to harm those who are close to Denji, and we see Denji is beginning to fall in love with Reze, so the seeds have been planted in our mind that Reze is in danger, and because Denji is our protagonist, we want Denji to be happy, so we're now worried about Reze, because at the time, we didn't know that there was more to her than met the eye, yet with every reveal, Reze is shown in an explosive way, and it's rather in your face or subtly. For instance, our minds begin to spin when she takes out the guy that's trying to kill her at the school. Our hearts melt when she's showing Denji how to swim. Our minds shatter when she bites off his tongue and reveals that she was after the Chainsaw Man heart. Our souls get confused when she says that she does care about Denji, yet Aki is telling us and telling Denji that she's lying to Denji, and we see that underwater embrace between the two later on. And even when Reze tells Denji that she was only acting for a mission, the fact that she was planning to go back to the cafe to meet Denji and run away with them, it just makes the heart grow fonder in the process, especially when you realize that that's a common romantic trope from romantic movies where there's that false confession or there's the lie to protect the heart. For most readers, Reze isn't just a character meant to seduce Denji. She's also written to seduce us as readers as well. It's poetic when you again consider a movie buff such as Fujimoto incorporated multiple elements from romance movies into this arc, and Reze's interactions with Denji, all while using them as a subtle foreshadowing. Like for instance, that confession scene where she's kissing Denji and in the background you got the explosions in the form of the firework. It's fitting because she is the bomb devil. Yet, as you read the series over for a second time in this arc in particular, you see that she did mean it when she said that she liked Denji for Denji, making her one of the few people in the series who can say that. Regardless as to how ignorant and crude she was, she actually loved him. He became more than just a target for her, but she was conflicted due to her duties. He became more than just Chainsaw Man, which is what makes that scene at the beach where she says that everything's fake so poetic, because we know by the end she's on her way to meet Denji to run away with him. Your first love is the one that sticks with you, and you don't ever forget it. And with Reze, we see that she did one hell of a number on Denji in the immediate aftermath of this, when Denji concedes that Reze broke his heart. And if you're like me, she did a number on you as well, which is why she's one of my personal favorite characters in the Chainsaw Man story.